This month on Tiger Vision, an insight into Newton North's opinion on the presidential election, a bowling alley that puts an interesting spin on the beloved sport, and a recap of our sophomore speech contest. All this and more in this month's episode of Tiger Vision. Now here are your hosts, Ben Feldman and Eric Heyer-Fogelberg.
Hi, and welcome to the third Tiger Vision of the school year. I'm Eric Heyer-Fogelberg.
I'm Ben Feldman. Tiger Vision is produced by TV Media Arts students at Newton North High School.
We aim to tell stories from around our community that matter the most to Newton North students.
On that note, Eric Liu gives us a close look at a local jazz band created by Newton North students. These guys are doing great work, and it would be worth it to check out one of their shows. Here's Upswing.
Some great comedy.
Student by day, keyboardist by night, I met with Brendan King to learn about Newton's very own jazz quintet Upswing.
We play mostly jazz standards, like classic jazz songs, but we also do sort of more modern stuff, like fusion and funk. I play piano and keyboards. I started playing piano, I think when I was around 6, and I took classical lessons. And when I was about 14, I decided that I wanted to learn jazz, so I stopped taking classical lessons and I taught myself how to play jazz. And jazz is very different from classical, so there was lots to learn.
Fellow member, founder, and saxophonist Ryan Park also met with me to tell me more about Upswing.
I had always been listening to jazz. My dad loved jazz, our family did. I knew I wanted to do saxophone for a while. I think I was just exposed to it pretty early on. I think
Freshman year, so 2 years ago.
I wanted to do a performance for Coffee House. It's this fusion thing. It's a fundraiser. And basically I pulled together a few guys that I knew that played. I knew Cam for a long time, and I knew Brendan, and it kind of pulled together, and we just started playing.
Upswing's notoriety has certainly been growing. As a result, they've even been hired and paid to perform.
We usually get our gigs from people sort of approaching us at our gigs, saying that they like what we're doing, or we get them from our friends at school.
Usually, I would get emailed by someone who would say, oh, we heard you play here, or we heard you play there. Usually you play once, and then other people are like, oh, we want to hire you to do this gig. And then we started making more money over the past couple of years. I think there's a strong bond that's been pretty stable.
I think we've definitely all become better musicians just from playing together for so long. I think we definitely know each other much better, and we know how to play with each other much better.
It seems that Upswing has found the right note, and hopefully they'll continue to jazz up Newton. For NNTV, this is Eric Liu signing off.
Thanks, Eric.
Next, we take it to the halls of NNHS, where Dylan Crook gets the scoop on the school's opinions on the recent presidential election.
Right now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency.
On November 8th, 2016, Americans across the country sat on the edges of their seats waiting to hear who our next president would be. That person is Donald J. Trump. With his inauguration this Friday, we took to the Newton North hallways and asked students and staff what they thought about the election and how it affected Newton North.
Well, I think it affected Newton North in a not a negative way, but certainly a lot of people were upset about the results.
It affected Newton North in two different ways. I think it at first divided the student population quite a bit, but after that Black Lives Matter rally, I think it brought us together.
I think a lot of it affected everyone poorly. A lot of the liberals in the school were, of course, really, really deeply upset by this. And I think a lot of the Republicans received a lot of animosity because we were all really upset and no one knew what to do with their emotions. And to see people celebrating something that many of us viewed as a tragedy was really hard.
Well, it kind of divided a lot of people, but at the same time it brought some people together who had similar opinions, and a lot of people were able to find some sort of solace in agreeing with each other.
We also spoke to 12th grade ethics teacher Mr. Fitzgerald about historical context of this election and how it stacks up to others.
In terms of people who are alive today, I think it's there's nobody alive today that I think that has had this kind of reaction to an election like this. So it's been, certainly not since the 19th century where you've seen this kind of reaction, I would think. Now, again, that doesn't mean that people haven't had strong visceral reactions. I mean, a lot of people reacted very negatively to George W. Bush's election and President Obama's election, but this does feel different. People feel anxious and concerned in a way that I certainly never remember seeing.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
We sincerely hope that our nation's future holds nothing but promise and opportunity for all. For NNTV, this is Dylan Crook, signing off.
Thanks, Dylan.
Next up, Will Marsh takes us to Needham's Bowl-Away, Candlepin with a spin.
Many small businesses take fame for their unique styles and benevolent customer interactions. Needham Bowl-Away, a local bowling alley, is no different, prioritizing fun and putting a colorful spin on an old sport.
What is exactly Cosmic Bowling? Cosmic Bowling is bowling with loud music, black lights, and lots of disco. When a lot of centers started focusing more on kids and less on older gentlemen in leagues, this is one of the things that they did to attract business. We are very Cosmic Bowling focused because we're very family focused here. We're all kids and families almost all the time. Also, I think we probably have more disco lights per square foot than just about anybody, bowling alley or club included.
Everything about the Bowl-Away is unique, including the location, having you enter down a staircase into the basement.
So the history of the business goes back a long ways. This is actually our centennial, so the Bowl-Away has been here for 100 years, which makes it the longest continuously running Candlepin Bowling Center. There are places that are older, but they haven't been running the whole time, which we have. There's been quite a few owners along the way. If my math is right, my wife and I are the 7th pair of owners. We took ownership here in July of 2011, and we've been running it since.
Shortly in, Zach began on the more personal side of the business.
So there are a lot of perks to being not just a small business owner, but owning this kind of business. My favorite thing is that people come in here to have a good time, and my only job is to make sure that they leave with a smile on their face. They're not coming in looking for me to repair something. They're not looking to come in and order something. I'm not selling them insurance. They know what they're coming for. They're coming to have fun, and as long as they have fun, I've done my job. At the end of the day, when I can walk out of here and say every single customer that came through here that day was as happy as they could have been, that's the most satisfaction. And I think about that all the time. I think about that with interactions with customers all the time. If you can leave that kind of impression with people, it's great.
As we continued talking, I learned that Zach and the business had been in the news recently, having helped fund a local family get back to everyday life after their house was destroyed in June of 2016.
Yeah, we do a lot to give back to the community. And then when that came up in the news, when that poor family wife immediately called me and said, what can we do about this? So we put the fundraiser together. It was pretty successful.
After 100 years of business, Needham Bolaway continues to spread messages of communal positivity and client happiness, holding a rare combination of history and values. Signing off for NNTV, this is Will Marsh.
Thanks, Will.
Every year, Newton North holds the MLK Sophomore Speech Contest. All sophomores compete by writing their very own speeches about whatever they want. It's a great contest, and it lets students give people a voice to their public voice to their opinions. We have a recap of the event, thanks to our own Aiden Leary.
I was in 6th grade the first time I was called fat. 7th the first time I starved myself in order to achieve a goal weight that was viewed as perfect by society.
Over the past 4 years, our school has held an annual sophomore speech contest. Every sophomore needs to write a speech and then perform it in front of their classes. The winner of each round moves on to the semifinals, where they perform in front of a panel of judges. And then the top 5 perform on stage in front of hundreds of people.
It's not so much about the contest, but it's about the skill, that every student has something to say, and sometimes students just lack the confidence to figure out how to say it, whether that be with their writing or through public speaking.
Today, the chaos of world events has many Americans questioning whether or not our country should continue to welcome refugees. We must now decide what America will stand for.
I was just thinking about what's really prevalent in today's society.
The inscription at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty reads, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free."
It was about immigration and how people should be more welcoming of people, because America has always been a safe haven for refugees.
They have something worthwhile to say. We really want to listen, and we're here to support and develop their voices so that they feel confident, they feel articulate, and they feel, I guess, empowered to say what they've been thinking and feeling all along, but perhaps haven't had the tools or the voice to say it just yet. So I'd say I look forward to seeing what they have to say. I look forward to hearing what they have to say, and look forward to hearing next year's speeches.
For NNTV, this is Aiden Leary signing off.
Thanks, Aiden.
If you are looking at your phone right now, put it down, because Eviatar Gershon brings us insight on how these devices can actually be addictive.
Now, in the 21st century, cell phones have become a huge part of our day-to-day routines. Whether we want to believe it or not, they are a huge source of happiness in our lives. I wanted to find out the true effects on cell phones on our minds and our bodies. So I'm going to do a little research. So I'm going to the CAF right now just to interview a couple of people stand up to see how many hours people on average spend on their phones and see how much time they spend on their phones doing work-related things. How much time per day do you think you spend on your phone?
I would say probably like 4 hours a day, like on a school day.
I'd say about 5 hours.
2 hours to 4 hours, anywhere between those two.
And do you think that your phone distracts you, or do you use it for like day-to-day like work-related things?
I think both. I think half the time it's like useful and like for things that I need, and then half the time it's just distracting.
For the most part, like texting and Snapchat.
I'd say both. I'd say it's a 50-50 ratio.
After hearing from these students about the amount of time they spend on their phones, I realized that 4 hours is way more time than it sounds. The average person is awake for around 16 hours, meaning that a minimum of 1/4 of these people's days was spent staring at a screen. To get another side of the story, I'm meeting with a student here in Newton North who doesn't even own a smartphone.
I have a flip phone and it's usually off, so I only use it when I'm like, hey, could you pick me up? I have email, so that's really all I need. I can talk to people up front. A lot of people will look at me like, oh, okay, where they pretend they get it, but they're like, that's kind of weird. It's also kind of a bragging thing. At this point, now I can be that only guy without any social media, and when people are like, hey, how can I contact you? And I'm like, here's my home phone number.
I asked Adam about his experiences with phones and what he thinks about them in our day-to-day lives.
I see people constantly looking at their phones, and I see that as kind of something like you're not really in control. It kind of morphs your relationships with real people because there's an expectation that everything's going to go perfect.
In order to get a feel for how strong an effect our phones may have,
I've decided to put myself through a little test, not using this for 5 days, and seeing what kind of effects it has, positive and negative. Alright, so it is day 1 of the no phones experiment. I went to bed last night and I didn't have to make sure that my phone was charging next to me on the bedside table, which is kind of freeing in a way, but I woke up this morning and I was like, gotta check my messages. I had this urge, to check my phone, but there's, alas, nothing there to check. I'm usually a pretty technology, dependent guy, so we'll see how it goes.
I started to notice that a lot of the conversation around phones had to do with our brains. To find out why we stay attached to our phones and how we can work around it, I set up an interview with Mrs. Connolly, a psychology teacher here at Newton North.
I do have a cell phone. I probably spend way too much time on my cell phone doing non-work-related things. But I think we live in a culture today that tells us that we constantly need to be connected. We constantly need to be available. It's beneficial to us. It's helpful to us. And so I think I'm a product of my culture. I would call phone usage an addiction, and according to a recent poll by the National Safety Council, 82% of Americans would say that cell phones can be addictive, and 50% of teenagers themselves admit that they're addicted to their cell phones. Within the curriculum of psychology, we talk about how dopamine, a neurotransmitter, is a pleasure-seeking neurotransmitter. So it's released by our brain when we do things that we like. And so when you post something on Facebook, or if you write a comment on Instagram and people like that comment, dopamine is released. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we are so addicted to social media and so addicted to our cell phones.
All right, well, it's day 3. I'm getting a little more used to this no phones thing. I don't reach for my phone in the morning when I'm trying to check my messages to see who texted me last night. When I'm in school and I'm bored, I don't reach for my pocket. I learned how to flip my pencil, which is nice when I'm bored in class or something. And it's getting a lot easier already.
Being off my phone helped me start noticing some of the subtler things around me. What stuck out was how silent my house was, even though I have 3 little brothers. I realized that with technology all around them, they weren't spending their days playing outside or doing something creative. They were turning to their screens rather than each other. After doing some research, I found promising evidence that children under the age of 10 can get emotionally attached to their technology. This means that our generation is being affected by the technology we were using when we were younger. In order to see if it was possible to break this habit, I followed through with my experiment, all the way to the end.
Alright, so day 5 now. It's my last day of the experiment. Tonight I'm going to go downstairs and fetch my phone from my drawer. I know there are going to be so many notifications. I've really gotten used to it over the last 5 days. They say it takes 66 days to break a habit, but it surprisingly hasn't taken me that long to realize just how much time we spend on our phones. Like, after not using my phone for so long, I now realize just how much time I've been gaining back from not using my phone, and it's opened me up to trying so many new things and having so many new experiences that I just wouldn't have if I was always on my phone. So overall, a very positive experience. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't think you're one of those people who uses their phone a lot and is always on their phone, try it out, put your phone in a drawer for 2 or 3 days, maybe leave a post on Facebook saying, I'm not going to be on my phone for a couple of days, don't be worried about me, I'm just trying out a new thing. And just see what kind of effects it has on you, You never know where you might end up.
If you have an addiction, I can't help you. You have to go to a rehab facility. Maybe more people have an addiction than you'd think, though, so.
For those people who think they spend too much time with their phone, I would say be intentional. Try to notice how much time you're spending on your phone and what you are doing on your phone at any given moment. I would recommend sleeping away from your cell phone, buying an alarm clock to wake you up instead, so you're not tempted to be checking your phone in the middle of the night and you get a good night's sleep. I would also recommend disconnecting, going offline, trying to challenge yourself to spend an hour or 2 away from your phone.
In our generation, cell phones can take control of our lives. They are a tool at first, but for most, they can easily become an addiction. Like Adam said, maybe more people have an addiction than you'd think, and it's up to us to make sure we enjoy the life all around us, not just the one in our pocket. Signing off for NNTV, this is Evitar Gershon.
Thanks, Eviatar.
Lastly, here's Dylan and Eric providing news you can trust with their first installment of The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing But Fake News.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing But Fake News with Dylan and Eric. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Eric. We aim to be as truthful as possible in our stories, but as you'll soon find out, this is all fake news. In international news, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been slowly losing respect and power in his country. During his rule, he has overseen 64 public executions, waged a nuclear war, and even got a movie banned from release. He has been quoted saying, "I'm not quite sure where I went wrong. Either way, the interview sucks and I hate James Franco."
The United States Senate had a late night on January 12th of this year, staying up until 1:24 a.m. in order to take steps towards their hope to repeal Obamacare. Many members have been sharing their ideas on how this can be accomplished. Senator Ted Young's contribution was a supply of Red Bull, Doritos, and Mountain Dew. Many analysts have referred to this meeting as somewhat of a slumber party. This claim was strongly reinforced by the fact that Mitch McConnell woke up with his hand in a bowl of warm water.
At the close of her last appearance on Fox News, anchor Megyn Kelly said she felt a human connection to her audience. This event has shocked the nation as it revealed that androids are now capable of human emotions.
Taylor Swift says she wants to get revenge on Kim and Kanye West through her music, and has been quoted saying, "The damage Kim and Kanye did was way worse than anything any of my ex-boyfriends ever did." There must be a lot of musical content there, given that Taylor Swift's entire musical career is based on her inability to maintain a relationship.
Recent obesity statistics from France have led the nation to banning restaurants from offering unlimited sugary drinks to their thirsty customers. This has caused a panic across the Atlantic, with restaurant workers getting physically assaulted when their customers ask for a refill, and instead of hearing oui, oui, they hear no, no.
U.S. scientists have officially named 2016 the hottest year on record. This is a very common occurrence, actually. It just so happens that the last 3 years in a row were declared hottest year on record as well. The constant change in which year holds the title has left us wondering, when will the Weather Academy get it right?
Information has been released recently about President Donald Trump having strong ties to the Russian government. The document explaining the relationship discusses how Russia has been in contact with Trump for at least 5 years and may even ruin Trump's political career, because obviously this is the only thing that would ruin his credibility.
In that vein of news, we recently tried to grab an interview with the most despised, rich, media-followed, orange-haired man in the country. Unfortunately, Roger Goodell was unable to speak with us.
And with that, we wrap up the first episode of The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing But Fake News.
We hope you tune in next time, and remember, just because it's Starbucks doesn't mean it's good.
Nice job, guys.
Well, that wraps up this year's third episode of Tiger Vision.
See more, head to our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and type in Newton North TV.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.